Definitely trying to get more into this social media stuff. I tweeted off of my account today.
Yeah.
A rarity.
I
Oh my god, dude. I need to get rid of all these. My class, this like MCO 335 last year, this social media class had me tweeting so much. I have all these like stupid class tweets.
I um I replied to a King of the Fourth Quarter tweet. Um
Hmm.
and it was like, what's your NBA hot take for this season? And I said Jamal Murray clears Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell by a considerable amount. And it got like a bunch of likes, and then two like Instagram accounts reposted it. And I was
I'm
like,
looking at your account right now. Yeah.
it felt so like I was just scrolling on Instagram and I see it. I'm like, what?
That's fine.
It felt so weird.
How many did you get like a lot of likes on it? I'm trying to find
Yeah,
that.
I got like,
Damn.
it's like 400, 450.
Damn.
If you reply to tweets, you get a lot more than like quoting it. Like you
Yeah,
get a lot
yeah.
more
People don't
engagement.
like just like scroll through quotes, I don't think.
No, they go through the reply. I think I need to start doing that more. I need
Hmm.
to start going through the replies and start.
Dude, that's fire though. Like, and you just changed your name too, right?
Yeah, I made it a legit
Yeah, so
account.
people can see that. That's fire.
It's so weird. It's like so random.
I know.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So
Uh,
we're just going through the games, or do you want to do like something else a little different or what?
we can go through the. I was gonna go through the games, and I was gonna talk about. I wanted to talk about like receivers because
Hmm.
I don't think there's a clear cut top receiver. So like when we get to the end of it, is how good Stephon Diggs
Okay.
was. I mean, I was
Okay,
gonna talk
yeah.
about that like at the end of the
Yeah.
talk about just going through the games
All
if
right.
that works.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Welcome in everybody to another episode of the Sideline. My name is Rishi Oza,
My name's Asher Hire.
and we're just gonna be talking about week 2 of the NFL season. We're gonna do it yesterday, but we're just gonna get the timing right, so we're doing it now. Um, yeah, a good week, another fun week. Two straight weeks with a lot of really good games, a lot of really fun games. Um, so I guess we can get right into it. I do apologize. I will be eating periodically throughout this. Um, but we'll get right into it. We did make predictions. Um, oh wait, I forgot how we did this last year. Did we went through them beforehand, right? And like did our record.
Yeah, like yeah, for last year.
Yeah, like before recording. Okay, I guess
Yeah,
we
we
could.
can kind of like talk about the games as we go through our picks.
Okay. Yeah. So we both picked Chiefs to win on Thursday night, which was a good game. Um, I find it's really hard to bet against the Chiefs at home in this Andy Reid era. So
Hmm.
especially in primetime games, and the Chargers put up a good fight, but the Chiefs are still very good. That offense is still very good. Their defense at home, once again, like last year, they just come up with big plays when they need to.
Yep.
It's a very uncanny thing, but it's an Andy Reid characteristic with Kansas
Yeah,
City.
I know. They always seem to pull through with the win somehow. Jalen Watson making that big pick six. And then obviously with Herbert getting hurt, but that was a tremendous effort, of course. By Justin Herbert, like standing in there. He tried rolling out one time and couldn't even run at all, and then couldn't throw. Like he was grabbing his side as he was running, and then just threw an absolute duck to like nobody. But and then like the very next play, he comes back with a strike down the middle. That's one of the most insane throws you'll see. Um, but yeah, it is hard to beat Kansas City. I think the Chargers were up like 10-0 in this game, but Casey always does come back. I feel like I'm a little like worried about Kansas City's offense, I guess. Slightly just they got a lot of points that that they shouldn't have if we're being honest, with a couple dropped interceptions
Oh
by
yeah,
Asante Samuel. And after that they also had six punts and that pick six. So really, I mean, they scored 20 points offensively, and it could have been like 10-ish.
It could have been a lot less. The
Yeah,
drop interceptions really, really hurt the
yeah,
Chargers.
yeah. So 6 punts in this game. Um, I don't know, like the Chargers were playing that two deep high safety the whole time, and then for whatever reason they just didn't
Stop.
go to it that one play, and immediately Mahomes strikes with that off the balance throw down the middle to their other, or not their other. Wait, is his name Watson too? That white guy, I think.
They're tied. Noah Gray, was it him?
No, it was that receiver. The white receiver number like 84, I think.
I think that's Noah Gray. Or is that
It's just wait, Justin Watson. Yeah.
he's a yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was Justin Watson who caught it, and that was split right down the middle. So I don't know why the Chargers did that after playing too high and it working the entire time. They just went away from that, and Mahomes immediately struck. But really, other than that, like the Chiefs' offense was kind of just a lot of like motions that just turn into nothing. It's like, hey, I'm Randy Reed. I can call a cool play,
Yeah.
and we've got good players, and then that's it. And then it just doesn't like work out. So that was kind of concerning. It might have been just that the Chargers defense was really good. Obviously really talented, but yeah, I don't feel like I got too much out of this game, to be honest, by both teams.
I think I will give props to the Chargers defense because they did actually play really well. And I like they did the Chiefs scored 27 points, but the offense only scored 20. Like we said, it could have been a lot less. So I was impressed with the Chargers defense. I think they're going to be a top one of the top units this year. Just a pure talent alone. Like I find it I kind of like how the Rams were last year. Like they just had too many good players for them to be
Yeah.
a bad team. And like there was a point in the season where the Rams were really, really sucking. And we had this conversation. We were like, why? Like, how are they bad? They have so many good players. And then eventually they started to turn it around. And I think the Chargers are going to be that type of defense. Like they're going to have a point where they struggle, but just because of how talented they are, they're going to find a way to turn it around. And I think it really showed. JC Jackson played his first game. He looked good. Asante Samuel, like he had an interception in their first game, and he should have had a couple more. So he looks to be good.
Yeah, if he didn't have like Butterfingers, he would be like he's a stud right now. He's covering everyone, but like his dad, can't catch the football. Unfortunately for him, but yeah, he was all over the field. Derwin James was too. Khalil Mack was kind of quiet, but that Chiefs O line is pretty good, and it happens. But yeah, I mean, I think we can move on to another game, right?
Yeah, we want to talk about Broncos, or we save Broncos for last?
I guess we can save him for last because we'll be talking about him a lot. But
okay.
um,
Browns Jets. We both picked the Browns, and this was the most Browns loss of all time. So that's an L there. But it's a proud L. I'm happy that it happened to Cleveland.
yeah, I am too. I know that was
it's so like there was just so many things that went wrong for Cleveland. A lot of people point to the Nick Chubb touchdown. I don't have a problem with that because if you just don't give up two scores in a minute and a half, they're fine. So I'm not pointing to that. I'm pointing to the onside kick, the blown coverage on the Corey Davis touchdown, and then just after that, you just have no momentum at all to get back. And also the missed extra point on the Chubb touchdown was big because otherwise it would have been tied and it probably would have went to overtime.
But I mean, like you just can't allow that. I mean, that's Kevin Stefanski. He was a great coach last year. I think one of the better head coaches, but that blown coverage was just absolutely terrible. And like you said, I mean, this is like the most kind of Browns way to lose. And it is good that it happened to them because them starting out 2-0. I mean, that would be looking good, up until Deshaun comes back. But now 1-1, losing this heartbreak of a game. Just crazy. You just can't allow that Corey Davis touchdown. It happened with multiple teams this week too. And I don't know if it's just early in the season, but just lots of miscommunication. We'll talk about the Ravens game soon. And then just couldn't like that onside kick, and then the Jets 12 plays 1 minute to take the lead. I mean, Joe Flacco was elite
He was
that fourth
elite.
quarter.
He looked elite. He's
Yeah.
third in the NFL in passing yards right now.
I
He
think he had
looked
4
like he
touchdowns.
legitimately looked good. Like I
I
don't
know.
know. Like he showed more motion
Yeah,
in that game than he did in his entire season with the
I know,
Broncos,
right?
which was funny.
Garrett Wilson looks like a stud
He
too.
looks good.
Um,
He looks good.
and it's great that he came back onto the field too, because there was a little injury scare
Mhm.
with him landing like right on his tailbone. It looked really painful, but he came back. That nasty route at the end of the game for the game-winning touchdown. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these rookies look good. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London. We'll talk about later. He looks
Mhm.
amazing. And we'll talk about receivers as well towards the end of this podcast. But yeah,
Yeah.
the Jets end up winning. And then next game, this is our first disagreement here. You got the win, I got the loss. Lions, Commanders, Jared Goff looking like that Super Bowl quarterback he is. Comes out and wins.
Yeah. I mean, the first half was like a mass. It was like 220 to 57 in terms of total yards in the first half in favor of Detroit. They came out firing, and they looked good in last week's game against the Eagles in the second half, and then in this game they really put it together all around. DeAndre Swift looks really, really good. Amon-Ra St. Brown also looks really, really good. I'm pretty sure he tied an NFL record. Most games in a row with 8 or more catches. I think he tied like Antonio Brown and Julio Jones for that. And for a guy who was drafted like pretty late, for like in day 3, he was drafted.
Yeah.
So for a guy that low to have this kind of season and this kind of run, super fun to watch. The Lions in general are a super fun team to watch. I think Hard Knocks really turned a lot of people onto them, but even just going back to last year, like they had some of the most entertaining games and entertaining losses that you could have had. And nice to see them get a win. The Commanders is a tough one. A tough loss.
Yeah. I mean, especially the beginning, it's like they're just buying into this whole Ron Rivera kind of, like Panthers days, we'll run the ball, not really throw it that much. But then when they do throw it this entire year, Carson Wentz has been on fire other than a couple, stupid interceptions that he always has. I mean, he's looked really phenomenal. I think 300, I'm not looking at the stat line right now, but I think 350 yards could have been even more. And I think like 3 touchdown passes, but yeah, the Lions were up by a ton. I'm trying to see do you know what like the score was?
I'm looking up the game right now. At one point it was 22-0. It was 22-0 at halftime. And then Carson Wentz had 337 yards, 3 touchdowns. Curtis Samuel had a good game. Jahan Dotson had a good game.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson looks good.
He looks really good. Another one of the rookie wide receivers
Yeah.
that looked really good. Him and Carson Wentz already have a really good rapport going. He's got great hands, good speed. Like he looks like a threat alongside Terry McLaurin.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at one point it's 21-29 in this game.
Yeah.
And the defense can't get a stop. And then you miss the extra point when you do score, so there's no opportunity to even kick the onside because you can't. Like it's a 9-point game instead of 8. Like
yeah, that was such a joke.
I know they really sucked.
I feel like the biggest play of this game was that it was the Amon-Ra St. Brown like 50-yard run when Washington was looking like they were coming back. I don't know why this is being like weird right now. Where is that possession? Okay, right here. So it was 22-15 Detroit. And it was looking like, the Commanders are coming back in because that was 15 straight points. And Jared Goff and the Lions had to answer. And it was Amon-Ra St. Brown with that jet sweep down the sideline 58 yards, and then they ended that possession with a touchdown to make it 29-15, a 2-possession game. And then of course the Commanders come back and score again. So if that play by Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't happen, you never know. The Commanders probably win this game considering all the momentum they had. So yeah, he's been huge for them. Not to mention Aiden Hutchinson with 3 sacks in the first half. He looks phenomenal.
He looks really good. Yeah.
I mean, just so like his instincts are great. He's got huge body, lengthy and huge and fast, almost TJ Watt, kind of.
I was gonna say, he reminds me of Nick Bosa.
Yeah, him too.
With how they play, just because of his just straight athleticism. Like he just has his bull rush is so effective, and he's very smart. He knows how to contain very well. Uses his hands really well. He reminds me a lot of Nick Bosa, but the Lions have something building. They legitimately have something building. So I'm excited to watch them. This is a good win. This is a good win for them.
Yeah, I know it is. It seems like there's not a lot of terrible teams in the NFL now. With the Jaguars looking like a real team, and Texans, they're probably the worst team in the league right now, but even they aren't horrible. Atlanta's been in both of their games. So I mean, yeah, a lot of the teams look decent this year.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good thing for the NFL.
Yeah. All right. Next game, Saints Buccaneers. Kind of a snooze fest of a game up until the fight, though.
I was asleep when the fight happened.
Oh,
I missed most of the first halves of most of these games. I was just passed out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Mike Evans had that. Dude, I don't know what Mike Evans' deal is. Like he's done that to Lattimore twice now, and Lattimore's not looking and just like destroys him from behind. I mean, you can't. That's just like
you can't do that.
Yeah,
you just can't do that.
Yeah, I think that warrants a suspension, which he got for 1 game. But nothing much to take away out of this.
I will say the Bucks offense is going to worry me. They played 2 good defenses. Dallas's defense is good. But they really struggled against Dallas, and they really struggled against New Orleans. So their offense is starting to concern. Their defense is incredible. Their defense has been phenomenal, carrying the momentum over the last 2 years. But their offense is starting to concern me a little bit. Not necessarily because of Tom Brady, but it's just the big plays aren't there. The run game hasn't really gotten going. Like it's an entire as a unit. They just have not looked good.
Yeah.
And that's concerning. So hopefully they get it together, but it looks pretty rough right now.
Yeah, I agree. Especially before the fight happened. Both teams, I think it was like 3-3 at that point or something. Both teams weren't looking great, and then the fight happened, and then Brady hit that long pass to Perriman for a touchdown to put them up 10-3. And then they got back-to-back interceptions, including a pick 6 by Mike Edwards, and that won him the game. But yeah, I mean, as you said, the offense not great. Obviously missing Godwin and Julio Jones, but both of those guys seem pretty injury prone, so they could be, missing quite a bit of games here. They did sign Cole Beasley, which I think could be a big impact, because the last time Cole Beasley played football, I think he had like 80-something catches, almost 90.
He's good.
So
he's good. I think the only reason why he's not getting signed is because of what he said about the vaccine stuff and like how he went like insane for a couple months on Twitter.
Yeah,
that's like the reason why he hasn't gotten signed. It's not because of his football abilities. I really like that signing from a football aspect.
Right.
That'll help, especially because of Godwin being hurt, now Mike Evans being suspended. So they do need some weapons. Yeah,
and then New Orleans, just Jameis looked terrible. I know he's playing hurt.
Yeah, he had like 4 fractured vertebrae or something in his back. I think that's what it was.
Something crazy. But the Saints did have a chance to win this game. I think before the fight, they were starting to run the ball a lot. Mark Ingram averaged 6 yards per carry. They were running, and then he fumbled, and that pretty much changed the game around, because after that fumble, there's another interception by the Saints, and then a touchdown, and then the pick 6 and a field goal, and it was game over. But at some point at 3-3, they were looking decent running the football. But yeah, definitely missed Alvin Kamara out there. But
He's been kind of non-existent through 2 games. Well, I
yeah,
mean, he didn't play last game, but in the first game, did he play in the first game? I think he
yeah,
did.
he did, but he didn't do
He
much.
didn't do much, so he's been kind of non-existent. I don't know if he was hurt in the last game, so that might play into it. But yeah, that's a little concerning.
Yeah,
Because I mean, this is exactly why. I mean, I'll kind of turn this in a Broncos way, but like, this is why I was happy that the Broncos signed back Melvin Gordon, so that you can have a legit 2 running back tandem. And I think that's why the Saints signed back Mark Ingram, so that they could lay off of Kamara a little bit, because last year, like, he was playing so well and then he got hurt because he just had so much of a
yeah,
load. And that's what concerns me about them. Like, I think he's still kind of recovering from that because of how much the offense relied on him, especially without Michael Thomas last year. So he was the number 1 receiver and the number 1 running back. So it was tough. But hopefully he gets healthy, because they need him. They really, really need him. Oh my God.
yeah. Next game, the Panthers and the Giants. Um, Giants go 2-0. Panthers look terrible.
Yeah, oh my God, they look so bad.
Especially like the pass offense is horrible. I mean, like, I'm hyping up DJ Moore and he's barely getting any targets. I think the offensive coordinator,
It's a
might
Matt
be
Rule problem.
blanking on it.
Like, it's a Matt Rule
That,
problem.
yeah,
Like,
terrible.
they are, I think under his tenure, they're like 1-25 when they score less than 17 points, or when the opponent scores more than 17 points, like 1-25 or something. Like, that is not, like, that means your offense has been so bad it can't score more than 17 points in 25 games. That's ridiculous. It's a Matt Rule problem. I just don't think he's an NFL coach right now. Like, he does not look the part.
No.
He's had 3 years with 3 different quarterbacks, and all 3 have looked bad.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing at all. But Brian Daboll does. He's 2-0, and I really like the way he's working with Daniel Jones. Like, they're getting the ball out a lot faster, I think, because he's had those issues with the strip sack fumbles. They're like, you know what, Daniel, we're not going to let you have a chance to fumble the game away. So they're getting the ball out quick. He only averaged 5 yards per completion, but that kind of shows it. A touchdown, no interceptions. So just a clean game by Daniel Jones. The defense, my bad. The defense has some playmakers too, especially Xavier McKinney. They just move him all around. That Wink Martindale defense almost plays like, some of the safeties on the Ravens when Earl Thomas was there, or even Marlon Humphrey a little bit. But yeah, the Giants look decent. I'm not going to say that they're making the playoffs or anything, but at least it's an improvement.
It's an improvement, and they do have like I look at their schedule and it's really easy. Like, it's really easy. Like we just said, there's not a lot of bad teams, but they somehow play all of them. So like they play the Cowboys, we'll talk about. But they play the Cowboys at home, then they play the Bears at home, and then they play the Packers, which is tough, Ravens, which is tough. But then it's Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, Lions, then Cowboys again, Commanders, and then they end the season kind of tough. With Eagles, Commanders, Giants, or Eagles, Commanders, Vikings, Colts, Eagles. But like up until that point, that's a very easy schedule. So they could legitimately have a winning record decently. Like, I don't think they'll make the playoffs either, but if they can keep momentum, they're gonna have a decent record.
Right.
It's gonna be so funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, usually they're the ones that like mess up the game by fumbling or intercepting or whatever, but they haven't done that the last 2 games. They played clean football, and they're kind of the ones forcing the other team to make errors. And then obviously Saquon looks good. And so yeah, the Giants are again not a terrible team.
Yeah, which is an improvement.
Yeah. By the way, I got okay.
So
we had different picks. I went with the Giants and got that one.
I went with the Panthers. I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the Giants are real, but I thought they weren't. At least last week.
Mm-hmm.
But Steelers page. We thought that Browns Jets was going to be the snooze fest of the week, which was not. But it was Steelers Patriots, like by far. That was tough. The Patriots won, which was good. Their offense looked better, I guess. It's hard to look worse than how they looked in week one.
Yeah.
But they looked better. Steelers offense looked bad, which it also looked in week one.
Mhm.
There was a lot of comments post game about maybe not having the trust in Mr. Trubisky. So it'll be interesting to see. I thought they should have started Kenny Pickett in the first place. But we will see. They'll probably give it a couple more weeks to see. But Steelers offense looks rough.
Yeah, it does. And the offensive line looks rough. Najee Harris looks rough. He's hurt, but I also don't think he's like an incredible talent as well. But yeah, like New England, this is the way that they play football nowadays. I think like a lot of these 17-14 games, 20-17 games, whether they win or lose them. I think this is going to be how they kind of play. And then they need someone to step up. And they got that out of Nelson Aguilar. He's finally catching footballs now. He made an incredible catch over Ahkello Witherspoon back in, I think, the second quarter or something like that. So yeah, that was really the big play of that game, because both offenses obviously couldn't get anything moving. And then the dud of the game, Gunnar Olszewski with that fumble, lost in the game essentially.
Yeah, they had a chance. Pittsburgh did legitimately have a chance. Yeah, Mitch Trubisky, it's tough. It's tough to see. Also, Damian Harris got hurt. I don't know what the update is on him, but it didn't look good because he got carted off. So if he's hurt, that really sucks for the Patriots, because then their weapons are even more limited.
Yeah.
But yeah, good win for them though on the road. Pittsburgh's not an easy place to win.
Right.
Colts Jags it's the next one.
I'm proud of myself here. I picked the Jags.
You picked the Jags, and I said I'm picking the Colts because there's no way that something that funny can possibly happen again, and it happened again.
Yeah.
Like, how many years is this in a row that Indianapolis has lost in Jacksonville?
I think it's 8, right? or 8 straight games. I think it's maybe 3 years. Wait, I don't know.
If it's 8 straight games, it's 8 straight years. So you only play once in.
Okay, yeah. I think it might. I think it's 8 straight games at their place at Jacksonville.
Like, that's so funny.
I know.
Jacksonville's been good for 1 year in that 8 years.
Yeah,
been good for 1 year.
And the Colts have been decent for most of those years too.
Yeah, they have been. Which is just, it's so odd. Like, I don't know. It's like the Twilight Zone when Indianapolis goes to Jacksonville. Nothing works. The run game doesn't work. Their quarterbacks start to suck. The defense is ass. Everything sucks when they go there. It's so weird. But props on the Jags for showing up, because Trevor Lawrence looked good. The defense looked good. The offense looked like everything looked good.
The Jags are good. Like, I think they're actually an actual good team. Like, it just depends on how Trevor plays. And it wasn't great in week 1, but he was good in this game, 25 of 30. And like, when you just look at their defense is good. Devin Lloyd has been spectacular. He had an interception. Foyesade Oluokun, another linebacker who's played great. The corners, Shaquille Griffin has played well. And then the defensive line is phenomenal too. Like, Trayvon Walker has had an amazing start to his season. Josh Allen, and then up the middle too with Fadukasi, I think is his name, and Davon Hamilton, and Arden Key, who they got from the Niners. He's been amazing. So I mean, this team like is good, man. Tyson Campbell, Andre Cisco, 2 young guys who were drafted pretty highly, and they've played well too. So like, the Jags have stuff going for them.
They do. And when we were kind of reviewing teams off seasons, a lot of people criticize Jacksonville because they just spend so much money. And I'm like, and I think both of us had the same opinion about it. We were like, we would much rather a team try and spend money and try and get better than just sit and like, oh, we're going to develop. Right. And they paid off. Like, Christian Kirk, 2 touchdowns today. Like, that's good. Foyesade Oluokun, 3 tackles and a pass defense and 2 quarterback hits. He's a guy who they got. Like, Shaquille Griffin, who they signed. Like, these are good players who they're signing. And yeah, it might be overpaying, but to improve a team, you're going to have to do that a
I
little
mean,
bit.
usually I think that the team who spends the most money in the offseason usually gains about 2 to 3 wins
Mhm.
the next season. And I think the Jaguars can be more than that. I don't even remember how. I think what did they win last year? Like 3 games.
I don't know, they had the number one
Um,
pick, so it
yeah, I
wasn't a
know. So
lot.
I mean, I feel like they could be, you know, oh man, like
Like
I don't want
I'm
to go. I don't
thinking,
want to go playoffs yet, but like 9-8, like this is a tough team to
this is
beat.
a tough team to beat. I'm thinking like because last season the Bengals were the number one team in offseason spending, and
Yeah.
they went from a team with the number five overall pick to a Super Bowl team.
Hmm.
And I don't think the Jacksonville's going to do that, but they could have that type of lead. You know, they
I
spend a
know.
lot of money on a team that's not that good,
Yeah.
and they still have these young guys who you hope take a step.
Yeah.
It's possible that they could have a winning season, or maybe not even a winning season, but like something better than
Right. Right.
what it's been over the last few
Yeah.
seasons.
And I mean, they're just destroying Matt Ryan the entire day.
Oh my
Just
god!
hit, 5 sacks. Plus, he was hurried so many times. 3 interceptions. Most of those throws just terrible, but the pressure was getting to Matt Ryan. And Jonathan Taylor couldn't get anything going.
Well, they
Obviously,
only ran it 9 times. That's the
yeah,
other
I
thing.
know. I
Like they
mean, they're
got
down.
down,
They're down the entire game, so they
they
have to
got down
throw.
so like you have to
Yeah,
throw. Also, they need Michael Pittman back. Like they need
oh
Michael
my
Pittman
God,
because
ASAP.
their
I know.
weapons are severely lacking. Like
Yeah, I think
Ashton
Matt.
Dulin as their number one receiver is
I know.
that cannot be a recipe for success.
Yeah, I think Matt Ryan is starting to fall off um a lot. Like this is like the Philip Rivers Colts here. Um I mean just like some of these throws like he just lofts it like I think his first interception was just horrible. I mean just like threw an absolute duck like 30 yards down the field and it got picked off. Like he just I don't know if I think that arm strength is deteriorating. And
Yeah.
Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, I feel like has most people thinking that quarterbacks nowadays can keep that arm strength up until their 40s. That was the whole kind of thing with Stafford, like, oh, he's only 32 or whatever, and same with Russell Wilson, because they just look at Brady and Rodgers and they're playing in their late 30s and late 40s, and they're still throwing the ball well, but those are two of the probably two best quarterbacks of all time. So um yeah, Matt Ryan I think is deteriorating
They're
quickly.
like outliers of outliers. Like that
Yeah,
the fact
yeah.
that both of them are happening at the same time is ridiculous, let alone one of them happening. Because quarterbacks normally will just age badly. Like that's just how it works because you're so reliant on one part of your body, and that body part wears down super easily. And we saw it with Peyton Manning, right? Like even the
Yeah.
season before his last one,
Yeah.
you could tell that it just wasn't this. Like you could tell it wasn't there. Like he still
Mhm.
had a good. Like he threw for like 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns, but he led the league in interceptions the season before that. Like that, he led the league in interceptions that year, and going into the playoffs, you could see like he wasn't the same.
Right.
And Matt Ryan's probably approaching that stage
Yeah.
right now. Like he's still probably a decent quarterback, still good, but he's not.
Right.
It's not going
I
to be the
mean,
same.
Big Ben last year comes to
Yep.
mind too. Um, so yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan almost looks about career wrapped up, but that was a great run, obviously,
Mm.
by Matt Ryan. All right, Ravens,
Ooh,
Dolphins.
ooh.
Tua is here. Tua has arrived, I
He's
guess.
here. I still see so many people trying to discredit him. Like, yo, he threw 6 touchdowns, man.
He
Like,
played a phenomenal game.
yeah,
Like, now I'm not gonna say that. Oh, man, dude, Dolphins fans are saying that Tua is better than Herbert just like by looking at win-loss record. I'm like,
chill,
oh my God, dude, you've
chill.
been the biggest Tom Brady haters forever, a Dolphins fan, and now you're using the Tom Brady win-loss argument here. Like, settle down with that. But Tua just so quick in his decision making, and agile in the pocket, which was a concern with all those hip injuries. He spun away from someone and threw a
Mhm.
touchdown late in the game. That
Yep.
was a great play, but I think most of it, Tua played phenomenal, but the Ravens, man, they
Ooh,
allowed two straight, like,
deep balls.
yeah, to Tyreek Hill. And if the Dolphins had just scored like normally, like 3-4 minutes,
They wouldn't have had
have
the
won the
time
game
to
if the
make it,
Ravens just hadn't let the Dolphins get like back-to-back 2-play drives.
Yeah, that was the game. Like, and plus, like, I was watching on Red Zone, so I wasn't watching the whole thing, but it looked like their offense just it bogged out. Like the momentum when it went into the Dolphins' way in a little bit, it just completely disappeared from the Ravens,
Yeah.
and that it was extremely concerning. And it sucks because Lamar Jackson had such a good game, but it seems like they kind of took the ball out of his hands at the end. Like they started running and trying to run the clock out, and I don't know how many circumstances you have to see when this happens. When a team is storming back like this, you cannot just run the clock out. You have to play aggressive. You have to play offense. You have to play like normal. And that's how they were playing the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, they just got super conservative. And then that allowed Miami to come back in the game. That happens so many times. I don't know how many times it has to happen for NFL people to realize, like, play normally. Play when teams are coming back like this. Play your normal game plan. Don't just start running the ball and playing the clock.
Right. I mean,
extremely annoying.
Yeah, and the momentum is crazy because I remember like Lamar, he almost threw a pick 6 to Xavier Howard, which would have tied the game.
Yeah.
After playing, a phenomenal game. Like people aren't even. I mean, I guess people are talking about Lamar, but most of the attention has been on Tua. But Lamar played a phenomenal game and shows he can still break away. I do think he lost maybe one jet this season. He did add, I believe, 18 pounds or something over the offseason.
Oh my God.
I think that's just to beef him up, more as he's taking these hits. But he scored that touchdown, but he didn't look as fast as 2019 Lamar. 2019 Lamar would have blew by everyone. He almost got caught at the end. But still, I mean, phenomenal. His passing game has improved so much.
Yeah. I hope this is finally the year where that he can't throw narrative goes away, because it hasn't been true for literally since his rookie season. It hasn't been true. Like he led the NFL in passing touchdowns his MVP season. Then the next year he comes back and has a good year. Last year he was good until he got hurt. Like it hasn't been true since his rookie year. I hope this is the year where it finally starts to go away.
Rashad Bateman looks really good too. I didn't know he was that fast. That was
he got burners. Speaking of Jalen Waddle, also, like, that man is so good.
And Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins are scary. Like having to guard Tyreek and Waddle like that is just insane.
Jalen Waddle had 19 targets. 11 catches, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns on 19 targets. And then Tyreek Hill, 11 catches, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns on 13 targets. 11 catches on 13 targets. Like, he's like open every play.
I know. This looks like an Alabama game. Like if Tyreek Hill was just, if his name was like Henry Ruggs, like, and you just look 11 receptions, 190 for Henry Ruggs, and 11 for 171 for Waddle, and 470 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. Like that looks like an Alabama game against like South Mississippi State or whatever. So yeah, I mean, Dolphins are scary for sure, but that was a defensive choke by the Ravens. I think.
That cannot happen. It's the same thing with the, like we talked about it with the Browns. Like there's so many points where you just cannot let that happen. Like you cannot. I mean, they were up, like it was like 35-21 with like 7-ish minutes left, and I'm thinking like, okay, even if they score, just hold them, like make them score slowly, and they'll be fine. And then it's a 60-yard touchdown. It's like, oh crap. And then they don't score, and then they don't do anything on their next drive. You're like, uh-oh. And then they score immediately after that too, and you're like, what? How? Like that was so fast. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And the fact that it happened in 2 games, well, 3 games in this weekend, like the exact same mistakes.
It is crazy. Yeah. Still a lot of positives to take away from the Ravens. As you said, they were up by a mile against these talented Dolphins, and that defense still put up 38 points. But next game, Rams, Falcons. And I wanted the Falcons to come back so bad. Down 20.
Almost got the curse out.
Yeah.
This close.
The Rams just, I guess, I don't know, too talented or whatever. The Falcons just aren't talented enough, I guess. But
They got to start throwing the ball to their best player, maybe.
I know, dude. Oh my God, I have him in both of my leagues, man. Kyle Pitts, and he gets no targets, 3 targets, dude. Mariota's only looking Drake London's way. It's crazy, but
Like Arthur Smith said, they're like, oh, we're using him as like a decoy, or like this isn't fantasy football. We're trying to win games. Like winning games means getting the ball to your best player. Like I don't know what are you saying? Yeah, obviously people are concerned about fantasy, but it's not just like if you want to win games, get the ball to your best player.
It's like it'd be like if the Rams are just we're not going to throw to Cooper Cup,
Yeah,
it's
like
just
we're going to use him
Tyler
as a decoy.
Higbee and Allen Robinson, but we'll use Cooper Cup as a or we'll use Steph Curry. Steph will score like 5 points, but we'll use him as a decoy. Like that's what the there's no logic. But the Rams are kind of concerning, dude. Like they have these moments where they just they don't play like a real football team at all. I remember the Titans game last year where they threw all these interceptions in a row, and then even in the Super Bowl, like they allowed the Bengals to come back in, and they had a bunch of like stupid moments in that. And then this game, oh my God, Matt Stafford, bad decisions on the interceptions, and then that Cooper Cup fumble, and then the blocked punt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, like the Rams just have these moments where they just completely fall apart as a football team.
It was like this last year too. It happened last year as well.
I don't get it. Like why? I mean,
I think a lot of it has to do with just a lack of a run game, because their offense sometimes lacks stability and it's so reliant on Stafford. Like they don't have a run game, which I think is they cannot really just like kind of slow the game down and control it at their own pace, because they just have to throw every single play. And with Stafford already having the tendonitis in his elbow, like he can't get the ball out as fast. He can't zip it like he was last season.
Yeah.
You have no other way of moving the ball. So like they just that has to be fixed. Has to be fixed. I don't know what they can do about it, because it's like you can't run the ball like 25 times a game and just expect it to work at something. Like it has to be the running backs have to find the holes better. Offensive line has to block better. They have to scheme the runs better. They might have to create some new plays. Like they might just have to do it's a collective effort on that part. But that I think that's the core of their issues, that they just don't have a run game.
Yeah, I agree. I think we kind of got to move through these last few games pretty fast. But, well, let's see. So the Niners, they get Jimmy G back, obviously an upgrade. All right, okay, first of all, Trey Lance, I think bad for Trey Lance. And like that is really tough, man, especially as a young guy like that. Yeah. Having to come back from that. I mean, I don't know how this takes his career, where this takes his career. I mean, it's an ankle injury too, which he uses his legs. That's his main kind of feature. But
plus, what happens if Garoppolo leads the Niners to another deep playoff run? Like, what happens then? Like, because then clearly Garoppolo does something that Trey Lance doesn't. And I know we didn't see a lot of Trey Lance, but how do you give up on a guy who has taken you to, not taken you, but he's quarterbacked the team to a Super Bowl. He's quarterbacked you to at least one NFC Championship game. And if he does it again, where he's at least NFC Championship or something like that, like, how do you give that up? How do you as a football GM, as a head coach, how do you say, he's good, but we're gonna go with this other guy who hasn't proven anything? Like,
I know.
I don't like that. That's a tough decision for them to make. So, and obviously you're hoping that he takes you on another deep playoff, and you're hoping that he's good. He look good, but like that's going to be a really tough decision to make if ultimately that happens.
I mean, especially because they were the ones who drafted Trey. And Justin Fields has looked better. Mac Jones has looked better. So, that's always in the back of their mind. But, I think they get better with Jimmy G at quarterback. And I think that the players also are more comfortable with Jimmy G at quarterback. Like, you think George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, like, wanted Trey Lance back there? There's no way. I mean, they get way more opportunities here to catch the ball. Obviously Jimmy G makes some ridiculous plays, but he can run an offense, fine with his arm. So they get a big win here. This was not even a close game whatsoever.
No.
And I'm scared as a Broncos fan. All right, next game.
Bengals, Cowboys. This was weird. We both chose the Bengals because we thought that okay, there's no way they play that bad, and then they did play that bad. And then the Cowboys actually played half decent. Cooper Rush looked good, like legitimately he looked good. He made the right reads, didn't make any big mistakes. Bengals starting to get in the panic zone maybe a little bit. The offensive line looks bad. Joe Burrow is holding on to the ball a lot longer than he should. Jamar Chase has not gone off to this. Well, he was incredible in week 1, but in this game he did not do much, which is an issue. Outside of Joe Mixon, like they didn't really have. Well, T. Higgins played well, but he didn't play well until like halfway through the third. So like those weapons that were so potent last year have not been. So I don't know if that's team scheming. I don't know if it's just them regressing, but
Yeah, I think it kind of is. I don't think Zach Taylor is like a good coach. And the offense just seems so basic, especially with how this O-line is playing right now with the sacks and stuff. It's like, can you do something else? Like, can you have a little motion here and there or something to get Chase screamed open like they're doing with Justin Jefferson in Minnesota? And don't just like drop back and run some normal like Madden play and then get sacked. Like I think they need to change up their offensive game plan a little bit because it's just too basic. Like he just drops back and passes or drops back and hands it off, and that's like it. There's no motion or anything special. But it's concerning for the Bengals. Like the panic meter is up there for them. Because I mean they look rough.
Yeah, it's two inferior opponents that they've lost to.
Yeah. Defense looks decent, but
yeah, offense is not.
Yeah.
Raiders Cardinals. This was fun to watch as a Broncos fan. This is very much a Josh McDaniels loss, the biggest blown lead in Raiders history. So makes me feel warm in my heart, knowing that Josh McDaniels has not changed at all as the head coach. Kyler Murray looked very good in the second half. He made do with weapons who I didn't know existed. I didn't know who Greg Dortch was, and Greg Dortch played very well, and he looked really good. Hollywood Brown in a couple of ridiculous catches, ridiculous plays. Kyler Murray himself had a couple of ridiculous plays. This is a big win. Like, if the Cardinals lose this game,
they're done.
Like, especially in the way, because it was 20-0 at half. Like, if it stays at, like, if they lose, like, 35-10 or like 28-7, like that's a tough loss to have. 2 straight blowouts.
Yeah.
That's tough. Cliff Kingsbury is going to have people calling for his head.
Yeah.
But to come back, a big win. Raiders are.
I know it is a huge win. I don't think it's a sustainable win because, as you said, like some of those plays, Marquise Brown is not going to make that catch, and Greg Dortch played well, and some of those plays that Kyler had, it's just like they were just making these big time plays that just won't happen. The credit to their defense, though, their defense was phenomenal in that second half, allowing just 3 points through third, fourth, and overtime. Obviously, that huge fumble that won him the game against Renfrew, who fumbled twice on that final drive. I feel like that's kind of been an issue, is him fumbling. Him and Cooper Kupp fumble a lot, I've noticed, towards the end of the games, especially.
They do.
So yeah, I don't think this is sustainable by the Cardinals, but this keeps their season alive, I think, because 0-2, I think they're done with. But Derek Carr looked great in the first half. McDaniels couldn't get anything going in the second half. Devontae only with 2 catches. So yeah. Packers, Bears, this game pissed me off because, like, what are you doing with Justin Fields, man? You drafted him this high and you give him 11 passing attempts, like 28 in total throughout the entire year.
He's 33rd in passing attempts in the league.
And there's 32 teams. Because Cooper Rush got like 31 attempts last game. But the weather wasn't bad. They were down the entire game, and you just don't let Fields air it out. I don't get it. And you don't let them like run it either. Like there's no scheme here. It's not like the Ravens offense where Lamar like has read options and stuff and Fields does, are the Eagles too. But
It's just straight handoffs. Like
yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I
it doesn't
really
make any
don't
sense.
like
I
it's
hope
like
that
they
this
didn't even want to like win this game.
it was bad, and they were in it too. Like in the first half, like they were in
Yeah,
it, and then they didn't continue it. They just kept running it even when it wasn't working. And like
yeah,
this is what everyone hated Matt Nagy because he wouldn't run the ball, and now Eberflus won't pass, which is
right.
funny when they should. So it's just like I don't know. I don't know what the Bears got to do to get it done, but
Yeah.
good win for the Packers, I guess.
Yeah, the Packers run game looks good. I don't think their passing game looks good at all, but
Mm.
Aaron Jones looked amazing that game, like just running all over the place. He was really fast.
Mm.
And won me my fantasy game, thank God.
I
Because
lost
I
because
would
of
have
him.
been 0-4 combined if I lost that.
I am 0-4 combined.
Oh no.
Oh
Really?
wait, no, I'm 0-2. Sorry,
Okay.
I don't know why I'm 0-4. I'm in 2 leagues.
Um, yeah, my team has just been like just brutally fucked over, especially Kyle Pitts annoying me. But Aaron Jones won me that game. Um, Bills, we don't even need to talk about this game. I mean, they're just amazing.
They're just incredible.
Um, and then Eagles, they look really good too, especially Jalen Hurts. I don't know what the Vikings like secondary was doing, but yeah, Hurts looks good.
Hurts looks really good. Yeah. But yeah. Okay, we'll talk about Broncos and then receivers for a little bit because I know you got to go. So Broncos Texans, we both picked Broncos. Was it a double? We won. It was ugliest win I think I've ever seen in my life. Because in week one, I was fine with how Hackett called the game. I was fine with everything. I attributed the slowness in the play calls and all that just to, first game with Russ. It's loud as balls in Seattle. Like there's a lot of other contributing factors to that. So I was like, okay, it's fine. It's first game. It's fine. This game, though, there was no excuse for that because you knew it was an issue in Seattle and it didn't seem like they worked on that at all. And you wasted a lot of timeouts doing that, a lot of questionable decisions. So I'm not, it's 2 games into his career. I'm not saying I'm worried about Hackett, but this game was not confidence inspiring in terms of game management, especially coming from Fangio, who sucked at game management. It
Yeah.
didn't really look like an improvement from Hackett.
Mhm.
And to me, that was my biggest takeaway is that it didn't look
Yeah.
like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Clock.
that field goal that got a delayed game that forced him to punt.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that just cannot happen. That was horrible, man. But there's still some signs of positivity. They finally started running the ball in the second half after
Yep.
just letting Russ air it out and absolutely nothing happening in the first half passing wise. But second half, they finally enforced their will. They're like, all right, we're the better team here. Texans have no game-changing players on their defensive side except for Derek Stingley, maybe, but and they just ran it up the gut. And Javante averaged 5, Melvin Gordon almost averaged 5, so that is positive. I don't completely mind the play calling. I do think they should have, went to the run sooner, but they moved the ball a lot in the Seahawks game, over 400 something yards, and they had like 350 yards this game. So the yardage is there.
Yeah.
Red zone offense, like there are positive signs because they are getting to the one. But when they get to the 1 or 2 or 3,
They just don't know
it's
what to
terrible.
do.
But it's like unlucky too. So because that Sutton one, his pinky toenail is like on the line.
Yeah.
And obviously we went through all the Seahawks goal line possessions, but like there is some positivity there. I am worried about his clock management, and I don't know how much of it is on Russ and how much of it is on Hackett. Like I don't know if Russ is in the huddle talking up a storm, being like, "Hey, remember, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this."
Or he's saying the play like 4 different times instead of just twice. Like, we won't know for sure, but there's something wrong with the communication between him and and Russ. So that's the biggest thing to me.
Yeah, and then not only that, but the injuries were extremely scary in this game. But it looks like Judy and Surtain will be good. But dude, Jewel out, Simmons out, Judy out, Surtain out, more people that I'm forgetting out.
Patrick,
Patrick Hamler. But the defense is promising though. I think a Hero Avero might have been a home run hit at.
He looks phenomenal.
And that starting defensive line looks phenomenal. Randy Gregory is a superstar when he plays. I think he's top 3 right now in percentage of the percent of him getting a pass rush or whatever, a quarterback hurry. He's top 3 in that. And Chubb looks pretty good too.
Chubb looks good.
Draymond looks amazing. 2 sacks. Dude, this finally the Draymond breakout season, I think. I've been waiting for that for like the past 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's happened. I think he has enough depth on the line. Not depth, but enough people on the line.
Yeah.
And if it stays healthy, he's going to be incredible. DJ Jones, man, he looks he looks incredible. Like Damian Pierce is a really good running back, and he broke through. Like it looked like Javonte because he just was breaking through so many arm tackles on the first line of attack. But DJ Jones stuffs so much in the middle. Like he single-handedly will clog like 2 holes, like 2 gaps by himself. He'll clog the A and the B just because of him. And he's so athletic. He gets so much penetration. He was phenomenal. That was an A+ signing. And we knew it was, but like just seeing it in action, it's like it's so fun. It's so good to see.
And Ronald Darby, amazing so far.
Damari Mathis played really well in relief of Patrick Surtain. Rookie. He played really, really well. Obviously, it's the Texans, so it's not. You can't take too much away from it, but he looked good in his first real action. Montreal Washington had a couple of good punt returns and a big run that got called back. I don't think that was anyway, but
Sutton looks phenomenal. Back to I think that top 10 receiver range for Cortland. I mean, just absolute beast. Moss Stingley at that goal line where the pinky toe was ruled out. But the connection with him and Russ, if Russ can like figure out his deep ball, which has been his main like thing for his career, the deep balls just keep floating inside. Like give Sutton a back shoulder throw, and he's making that catch every single time. But they're fading inside, and Sutton, credit to him, has drawn like 3 like 50-yard pass interference penalties. But just like get it out to the sideline a little more.
If you count the pass interferences, he had like over 200 yards. Like if you count the 2 pass interferences he had, he looked really good, and that was so needed because without Judy and without Hamler and without Patrick, you have Kendall Hinton and Tyree Cleveland as your next 2 wide receivers, and you're like, I was watching the game and I was like, this is awful. Like this is horrible. Like I like those 2 guys, but man, they didn't do anything. So Cortland's done that. Like it was so big for him to have the game that he did.
Speaking of receivers,
yes,
take the floor.
Oh yes. So speaking of receivers, I was going to get into that. It has come to my attention that there's no clear number 1 receiver in the NFL anymore. I think it's been that way for a couple of years. I think last season, I don't think they're all like last year. The clear number 1 receiver over the course of the season was obviously Cooper Kupp. But when you look at this season, Kupp is in the conversation. Devontae Adams is in the conversation. The way Stephon Diggs has played, he's entered himself into the conversation. Justin Jefferson's in the conversation. Jamar Chase is in the conversation. Like there's a legitimate 5 or 6 receivers who have the claim to be the number 1 guy. And if you make the argument for any one of them, like you could convince anybody that one of those 5 or 6 guys can be that. So I think that it'll be very interesting to see what the all-pro teams look like because of that. I just wanted to bring like that. Like there's so many good receivers in the league right now. There's so many top guys.
I agree. And I feel like the receiver position is changing a little bit into like guys who can kind of do it all. We're seeing it, I think personally as Broncos fans, with Jerry Jeudy getting some carries. Amon-Ra got a couple carries, but it's these guys who are like almost built like running backs. Debo Samuel, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, as I said, and Cooper Kupp as well, where they can just like do everything. They can take carries and break tackles. They're so good after the catch. And they're all about 6'1", 6'2", but they can moss corners. I feel like kind of the big like AJ Green type of possession receiver. I'm talking about not like not 2015 AJ Green. I'm talking about kind of like now AJ
Yeah.
Green, like the type of guys who are just possession big receivers seem like they're almost phasing out. I know we have Sutton, but Sutton is spectacular with the ball in his hands anyway.
Hmm.
And he's almost a tall running back, but yeah, I feel like the position is evolving into these guys who can do it all.
Yeah. And like not only carry, but they can play all different spots
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
receiver. They can play the X, you can play the Y, you can play inside. Cooper
yeah,
Kupp did that like as good as I've seen anybody in the history of
right.
the league do it last season because he primarily operated out of the slot, but you can move him outside, you can move him to the other side, you can put him against any corner, and he
Yeah.
would still dominate the matchup. And I think a lot more teams are doing that. We're seeing with
Jefferson's
Jerry
doing that
Jeudy,
right
like
now. Yeah,
Judy was moving like all over the place, all over the field in both games. Um, and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown's doing that. Debo Samuel's been doing that. Like I think you're right about how the position's definitely
yeah.
changing.
DJ Moore also comes to
Hmm.
mind. Just guys like that, that
Yeah,
mold. But yeah, I gotta go. So
yeah.
um,
No, we're all good. That's gonna do it for this episode. We'll be back next week discussing week 3, Broncos against Niners Sunday night. That'll be a fun game. First time hosting Sunday night in that minute.
yep.
So yeah, thanks for tuning
What
in.
was the last game, that Giants game we lost? It was a horrible Giants game, like 2018,
Oh,
2017 maybe. I feel like that was the last one.
um, I think so. Maybe I think that might have been the last time we hosted a Sunday night game.
Because we played the Chiefs Sunday night, but that was at
That was
KC.
at KC. We played a bunch of teams hosting Monday night.
Yeah,
I think you might be right. I think it was that horrible game
maybe.
against the Giants. Wow. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week.